Welcome to Awkward Conversations. This is the third installment in this series that we've been doing, and we might continue it for another week or two. I'm not sure yet. But if you have any questions that are of interest to you, things you'd like me to answer, please send them to me, and I would be really happy to consider that. So let's get to it. So, question number one that came in was about role models. Who should role models be for our young people? And as I've been thinking about this, I've been working with teenagers and young adults for the past 30 years. Really, it starts in the home. If I could say anything, I would say that there has been an abdication, shall we say, of some of the parental rights, and therefore there's a lot of other voices that have come into the mix, and a lot of young people have been listening to them when in reality, it's the parents. It comes from the home first that really matters. And yes, I know that there's struggles and tough moments that have happened in many, many families, but ultimately, children, teenagers will really thrive when the home is in a good state or in a state where it's functional. So I have a couple of reasons why I say that we should be looking at role models that are in the home first. And yes, thankfully, there are supervisors, counselors, big brothers, big sisters, and they're great because they've filled in the gap many times. But really, the place, and I've seen it as a high school counselor, as a pastor, it starts in the home. It really matters. And here are some reasons why. Children who have parental support are likely to have better health as adults, earn higher grades, better social skills, more likely to graduate, which is something that I've seen time and time again, and actually it crosses a stratosphere of race and influence, affluence, money or no money, big home, little home. It really matters about what's happening with the parents if they're involved properly. Children are more likely to be socially competent and have better communication skills when they have parents who are sensitive to their needs and emotions. Doesn't mean that we capitulate, but it means that we are aware, we are involved. Teens who hate this, but teens who are monitored by their parents are 25% less likely as other teens who have hands-off parents to engage in drugs, drinking, alcoholism. Blew up in one of my schools a few years ago. And when we started looking at the reasons why there was such high cannabis use, drug use, sexual proliferation of just sexual, like, do whatever you want, we look back and we realized a lot of it had to do with a lot of hands-off parents who said, oh, it's their time to grow up and they'll figure it out. Parents have an irreplaceable role, and the parent-child relationship, if you didn't notice it already, is under attack. There are laws even where I live where teenagers can do many, many things without the guise of their parents knowing, and it's shocking. And then when parents do find out, it's like, how did this happen? And so there's an attack, which kind of leads me into the second question, which was Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. And I knew exactly what they were saying, that in this climate that we're in, we have an organization, shall we say, that has been kind of at the forefront. And one of their statuses or their raison d'etre, their reason to be, is that they want to destroy, they want to upset the nuclear family. And I'm very concerned about, in this very heightened, very emotional place that our society, especially North American society, is in, is that if we do not have some role models to come and to give some balance to a lot of what's being said, we have a generation of teenagers, and also we have a generation of young adults who are making some very, very interesting choices, some detrimental that they don't even realize. So I'm concerned a lot about Black Lives Matter's organization because they're very dismissive of getting support from those who have walked before them, the lack of discipline, and it's been shown in a lot of the violent uprisings that have taken place, is very concerning to me. It's funny, a lot of influential civil rights leaders would say that They got their point across, and they didn't have to burn businesses down. They trained people not to get angry. And before some of you turn this off and get upset, one of the things that I've noticed in this recent dialogue with many people is that emotions are running high and we're not stopping to think. So yes, we're upset because we saw a terrible act that happened back in May in Minneapolis. But then the anger becomes unrestrained in terms of all the subsequent actions and things that we're going to do and things that are being done. And because our minds are not being used, because they're the most powerful weapon, ultimately at some point we start to lose when our emotions run way past our thinking abilities and capabilities. One of the things that I'm concerned about with Black Lives Matter that a lot of young people will take on is this lack of discipline, respect, and restraint. It's badly needed, but it just seems as though this is not something that Black Lives Matter is buying. In fact, when one of the chapter heads in New York was on all the major networks to say that if we don't get what we want, we're going to burn the system down, and you could take it figuratively or literally, that tells me something that it's very, very scary. There's a lot of things that even they put into their own statement of being on their website that they are not for the nuclear regular family. They want to go outside the boxes. And it's funny that injustice everywhere, anywhere is the threat to justice everywhere. And this is what Dr. King said. And that time and that place, it was not exclusively that civil rights movement was just for Black people only, because it valued all the lives, even those who attacked them. They valued those lives. And I, for myself, can't believe that a life of a murdered white police officer, an Asian child sold into sex trade, slavery, or a hungry family, and you name whatever city in North America that you want to that are going hungry, that those lives don't matter. So in some respects, this whole Black Lives Matter slogan that is used by that group is too broad, because they don't touch and talk about the black on black crime and homicides. The leading cause of death for black males between the ages of 15 and 34 are other Black men. And it's off the radar of this movement for fear that it puts Black men in a negative life. So then I ask, which Black lives really matter? So I want to say very clearly, because it's been said to me before, oh, I guess you're saying that you don't care about Black lives. Well, that sounds kind of dumb, because, I am a Black man. Of course I care. And of course it concerns me that for a long time, in many respects, in different venues and different communities, that sometimes a Black person was taken advantage of or not considered equal for whatever reason you want to put it. So yes, a Black life matters just as much as anybody else's life matters. But I just hope that we look and are careful that we don't put all our eggs, or we put ourselves out and say, I'm with these guys, and you don't even know why you're with them. Because when you start to peel back the layers, there's some of those things that don't seem kosher. So yes, be for Black Lives Matter, because my life matters just as much as your life matters. But when it comes to the organization and what they really stand for, I think we need to be careful and to be very, very concerned that sometimes, we're unaware of the things that we are championing, the causes. I had a number of people comment and send me direct messages about my answer to the Defund Police question that I answered last week. And it was very interesting. Some people who agreed, some who disagreed, some who were on the fence. I even had a friend of mine who's an RCMP officer who also responded, and he was thankful that I was not just throwing everything out with the bathwater saying, hey, they're all bad. And he mentioned that because he's been an officer for a long time, he gave me some perspectives from his point of view and the things that he sees, and how they have ongoing training about de-escalation and restraint. And he said it's unfortunate that some bad apples make us all look bad. But the reality is the majority of police officers do a great job. In fact, let me just leave you with this, because this doesn't get talked about a lot. Do you understand that the police officers, when they get called, they go into situations that they don't know what's happening. They go into neighborhoods where, because of the dislike, they're 10 to 12 more times to be shot, harmed than we'll ever be. And sometimes when you listen to the news, you listen to the media, you think that it's always against the black person, when in reality, many, many officers, including black officers, are mistreated, injured, harmed, and even killed many more times during the year. And so I think we always need to be careful when we hear something, we go, let's just cut it off. And we're not sure why, but because it sounds good and because we see one bad thing, remember that the vast majority do protect and serve. So that's it. Hopefully it's been helpful, and we'll see how it goes over the next little while. I think I'm going to drill down a little bit more on role models in the coming weeks. But if you have some questions you want me to answer, please feel free to send them along. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.